Hello, I'm Josh Martinez. I'm a Platte County resident and business owner. Just another concerned citizen trying to help out our residents in a very concerning time. Seems today we have to work harder for our money, which buys us less. And by the time we get home, we have the energy for one more thing in our day. I'm asking you today for a little energy and a little time to hear this video that I have put together. Sees everyone has concerns about data centers and all that it entails. It's very concerning to me as well. I have dug up lots of information on these data centers, and I began to ask our politicians about it first. They had little to no actual info about the matter, but said it was good for our county. Upon extensive investigation, I discovered what a bad idea these data centers were and how they would destroy Platte County. Seeing some of the devastation coast to coast caused by these data centers, I realized that once they had changed zoning from agricultural land to industrial land, there would be no turning back. You would do yourself some good to do your own investigation into this matter, so you as a citizen will be well versed in the matter of data centers. But enough about data centers. Let's talk about the candidates that will be making the decisions on these matters of data centers, wind farms, BESS systems, the like. Remember, they already have 3 data centers planned. One on Slater Road, one on Johnson Road by the power plant, and one in Goshen Valley, just over the hill from Wheatland. When I heard we had 6 commissioners running to take 2 seats, I know they needed to be checked out and vetted. I decided I would hold a meeting and ask all the hard questions that we all wish we could ask and never have the time to do. I decided we need more black and white questions and more expounding on the integrity and the intent and the plans that they had so that we could have it on record for accountability later. I invited all 6 candidates: Steve Shockley, who says he's here to serve the people, Kayla Mantle, Mike Bookout, Alex Spring, a late runner in this race, Tim Bendell, and Curtis Hoffrock. I'm under the impression that if you are for the people, you will be there to meet them. I'm very sad to say that 4 of the 6 did not show, which says a lot to me. So let's get down to the business at hand. Watch this video closely and remember what was said so we can hold our candidates accountable in the future. Thank you. Now let's watch.
If your answer is yes or no, you're gonna have an opening statement time, but you've got paddles in front of you for yes or no answers as well. Okay? I'll call on each candidate to speak in any order, not a fixed order. Each candidate gets 90 seconds. We'll do this alphabetical then. Kim, if you want to begin.
Is this an introduction or?
Yeah. We'll now hear opening statements. I will call each of you in turn, and you will each have 90 seconds. You guys tell us who you are and why you run. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, yes, my name's Timothy Bendell. I've been here in Wyoming for 20 years, a little over. I run an aerospace company outside of Chugwater, Wyoming, down there in probably 14 miles outside of Chugwater. It's in a decommissioned Atlas missile site, and so we make rocket engines and rocket propellant for spacecraft there, and that's basically what I do. So anyhow, I've been active in the Republican Party here for quite some time. I was the one of 2 delegates to the National Convention in 2016 that ended up nominating Trump. At first, Wyoming picked Ted Cruz, and so I went, and that was the vote, the first round of vote. And because of the splits, there was a lot of horse trading on the floor and figuring out. And of course, as you know, Trump became the official candidate after some debate. So, but I was there, and that was really quite the experience. So I've been pretty active for a while in the Republican Party, and I'm running for county commissioner because of a couple of things. One, the wind turbines, personally, they wanted to put it up right next to me pretty quickly, and I had heart surgery in October, got out of heart surgery, found out they're putting about a quarter mile by place. Started calling people saying, hey, what can I do? And I decided to run.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Hot Rock, go ahead and tell us your name, why you're running, and then yes, a minute and 30 seconds.
My name's Curtis Hoffrock. I was raised here for most of my life. When I was 5, I was raised by my grandparents. They moved me to Guernsey, and then they found a house 10 miles east of town here, where I lived until I was 18, 19 years old. I went off to college, stayed in western Nebraska thinking things were bigger and better, and they were neither one. So I moved back home in 2021. I've been the program director for Parks and Rec here in town, and you know, one of the main reasons why I decided to run is we have 4 of our children that have chosen Wheatland and Platte County to raise our grandchildren in, and I just wanted to be able to make a difference, help make this a place where our kids want to return to raise their kids. And that's the main reason why I threw my name in the hat and I wanted to run. Just doing that, we have, you know, our kids, they own businesses here in town, and just being able to visit with them and see them, and
Our first block of questions is about integrity and disclosure. We're gonna ask these questions, and they're gonna be yes or no questions, so we're gonna be very, you know, very black and white and about these answers. Have you or any immediate family member ever signed a non-disclosure agreement with any company, landowner, or organization connected to a data center, wind, solar, or transmission project in this county?
No.
Your cats. Yeah, that way the crowd can see what you're Do you or any immediate family member currently hold, or have you held in the past 3 years, any financial interest such as land lease, consulting fee, job, investment in any company that has applied for or would benefit from a data center, wind, or transmission project in Platte County?
Have you had any contact, written or spoken, anywhere with a representative of Site Layer 4, Granite Renewables, 5-9 Design Group, Nextera, Geronimo Power, outside of a publicly noticed county meeting?
Yes. They don't want me to run.
Okay. Please expound on that.
Because I have several these wind turbines that are going right next to me, I filed, went to this town meeting, I said, hey, you can't do this, it's too close to me, it affects my business. They said they didn't know who I was. I said, how can you not know me? There's a big sign that says my business is right there. And so I contacted them and emailed back and forth, and they said they couldn't do anything. One of the phone calls I had was quite heated with them, and then I said, okay, forget it, I'm gonna run. And then they tried contacting me again and wanted to negotiate. I said, no, too late.
No.
If elected, will you commit to publicly disclosing within 48 hours any future contact with the data center applicant or its representatives outside of a noticed meeting?
Describe a specific time you changed your public position after new information proved to be wrong or proved it wrong.
Tim?
Change my position on something with regards to this issue, or?
Just anything in general. You have a view, and all of a sudden, and sometimes it happens, I guess, you gather more data and your feelings change on an issue.
Boy, I'd have to really ponder that. My politics have been pretty consistent for a long time. So I'm open to discussion. Someone can convince me. I'm an engineer, pretty logical. So if you can make a good argument, I'm willing to listen, but I don't think I've changed my opinion much.
How about you?
I would say, like the data center issue itself. When I first filed to run, I would say I was on the fence. I wasn't sure where I sat with it, but as more information has come forward, as I'm doing some of my own research, things like that, I'm definitely in the ballpark of this is not the future of Platte County for sure.
If, after you are elected, someone shows that you had a hidden conflict of interest on something, what should happen to you and who should decide that?
If I had a conflict of interest and I didn't disclose it, I would resign.
I would agree with that. I think if I had a conflict that was not disclosed right up front, then it falls on me to step aside and let the next person take that.
Also, who should decide that?
I would. I mean, personally, I wouldn't do it.
I think that comes from your own morals and ethics right there.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your accountability. Oh, our next block of questions is about public allegiance and independence. Who do you answer to?
Will you release the names of your top 5 campaign donors this week and say whether any of them has a financial interest in a data center, energy, or power line project here?
I could release the names. In fact, I think I have to do that when it comes to disclosure, and they're both sitting right over there. So, I don't think they're too upset, but that's it. One's Mark and the other one's Catherine. So.
And I didn't have 5 donors. So, I ran my entire campaign on less than $1,000. And, one of my donors was my aunt, and she doesn't even live in Wyoming. But I'm happy to disclose that. I've already filed the paperwork with the clerk's office. It's all there. It's a matter of public record, so.
Okay. Platte County Economic. Oh, sorry, guys. How can voters tell if you are working for the community or working for the?
Okay. Did you still miss this one?
Platte County Economic Development Board includes a seat for a sitting county commissioner. If elected, would you take that seat?
That's a yes or no.
No.
Oh, that's not one I would do.
Should a company ever be allowed to directly pay the fee of the county's own lawyer on a matter involving that same company?
There's a seat available for a commissioner.
Okay. How can voters tell if you are working for the community or working for the data center industry? What would actually show us the difference?
I guess you could ask me why I decide what I decide, and I'll tell you. And I will sign whatever affidavit you want, disclosing that I've not taken any money from anyone like that.
I think mostly part of this question is, get a lot of people that try to come, get their foot in the door, then get in there, and then money's flashed at them or something.
That's not a problem with me now.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing that, and it annoys my wife, money's not my most important thing. Genuinely, I get, and that would be the biggest thing for me is, I don't think there should ever be money exchanging hands for those types of purposes, especially those type of purposes. We were, when we're elected by the people of this county. Whether they voted for us or not, the majority is gonna rule, and that's who we have to have the best interest in.
Our last block of questions is about data centers directly. That's my alarm saying it didn't like my supper.
Will you vote to delay final action on any pending data center project until Platte County has its own data center rules in place?
Do you support pausing new data center approvals until those rules are fully adopted?
Do you support requiring a company to disclose the real people who own it, not just the name of the paperwork company?
Do you support a hard limit on how much water a data center can use? And if so, with an automatic shut-off during any declared water shortage?
Should current homeowners and farmers ever pay more or get worse service because of new data centers' power needs?
Should a company applying for a data center have to pay for an independent, county-picked reviewer of its own application?
Oh, wait a minute, what did you say that again?
Reread that.
Should a company that is applying for a data center, should they have to pay for an independent reviewer that the county picks?
So the company pays for it,
The company has to pay for that.
yes.
Have you ever personally toured a data center?
What are your plans to protect the rights and safety of the public from data center industry?
What is my policy or what my,
What are your plans to protect them?
as a commissioner, I don't know how much power I would have, but I think that what we need to do is dramatically reduce the amount of data storage. Like, I don't want the data center to take people's personal information that they don't agree upon, and then especially don't want them to sell it to other people and collect a kind of a data. I mean, right now they're talking about data centers logging every keystroke that you make. That's ridiculous.
I would say first and foremost, we've got,
Too late.
as the planning and zoning meeting the other night showed, we don't really have any regulations. And one of the first things that I would say we need to do to protect the citizens is we need to put a moratorium in place. We need to put a hold on these things until we can get some hard, solid regulations in place that directly deal with these things. Beyond that, I don't think, I don't agree with information that you're not even aware that is being stored. So, but I do think that getting this whole process slowed down is going to be key.
Okay. Do you believe that data centers are good for Platte County, and what do you see as the pros, and what do you see as the cons?
For Platte County, I don't think they're good at all. Pros, struggling. Cons, there's a whole bunch. Water usage, just the fact that they're here, that the way that they're currently operating elsewhere in the country is a negative impact on society. I guess, technically they're talking about how many jobs they would bring. That would be sort of a pro, but I don't believe the numbers, to be perfectly honest. They've been deceitful in that beforehand, and so I'm pretty negative on them. I don't think they're a good fit at all.
I would agree. I don't believe that they are the future of Platte County. I don't necessarily believe that they should be the future of Wyoming. Again, when you look at pros, there's not a whole lot out there. In fact, I've struggled to find a few. People, what we hear a lot is large numbers when it comes to property taxes. And I think the numbers that are being tossed out there are skewed a little bit. I think, that the cons well outweigh any pros that they could send our way. I do believe that they're gonna come in and they're gonna try and woo just about everybody they can with promises of this and promises of that, and nothing that is gonna be held hard, fast, and solid. So.
Do you have a question, either one of you have a question for each other? In case we missed any questions.
In case we missed any questions. Well, first off, there's 2 seats on the council that are open. And so Curtis and I see pretty eye to eye on a lot of these things, so I want to necessarily say that this isn't necessarily either or. There are several other commissioner candidates that chose not to attend tonight, so I would rather ask them some questions.
Me too.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
And again, I'll say, and I think we kind of covered this the other night in Tim's Zoom meeting, we've had conversations. I wouldn't say that we've sat down and had hours upon hours of conversations, but we've had some brief conversations here and there, and the things that maybe we're not exactly eye to eye on, we're at least able to communicate with each other and work through those issues as we move forward. So I guess I can't think of a really good question to ask him right now.
Yeah. So the next questions are coming from the audience. There are questions that have been submitted from the audience, and so we'll go through those. If there are duplicate questions, we'll skip those and just see how things go.
Let's see. Doesn't say who it's from. Let me get my glasses on. Lazy over the years. Can anyone tell me what the building is for at the Slater exit? And is it on private or state land? What question is this? Anybody want to
There,
think
at the Slater exit,
Yeah,
there's
It's my question.
Okay.
That building there that has the fence
The
around it?
fence around it.
Oh, you're talking about, right there by the dome house?
Yes, right, but
It's
there
not a
was a
building.
dome house.
Um,
Does anybody know what it is?
I mean, I imagine that's junction power of some sort. It looks like something there, but, I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
It's not a building.
It's not a building.
It's like a power generation substation.
Okay.
I'll tell you
I
what,
asked when it was being built.
I will try and do the best I can to find out what that is.
Okay.
I know I have a lot of questions about that building myself, so. Next question is, what is the life expectancy of a data center, solar farm and wind farm?
Oh, data centers, I don't know. The next era wind farm, correct me if I'm wrong, they're saying 35 years. I don't know if you can trust that or not. It could go either way. They could decommission it early or extend it, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah, and that's what I had read was the 35 years. Being around a lot of those wind farms in western Nebraska, northeastern Colorado, I can tell you that there is constant maintenance on it. Those blades, they run in and out of there with those blades frequently. I don't know that any one of those wind generators ever made it to 35 years. I don't know that they've been there for 35 years yet. But I don't know what the life expectancy is. I know that that's what was reported. The life expectancy of a data center, you know, and I've told other people this, once Elon figures out exactly how to launch those things into outer space where it's cold and they've got all the solar power they need to run them, I would say the life expectancy is probably fairly short at that point. And I, you know, again, I don't, not being in with with Elon's people, I didn't call him before I showed up here. But I don't know how far away they are. I know that he has an amazing team put together. And it could happen in 5 years, it could happen in 10 years, it could happen in 2, we don't know, so.
Cooney probably would.
Does anyone have a question that they did not submit for the candidates?
I do.
Right behind you.
Okay.
I'm curious why
See everybody.
why
Go ahead.
neither of you would want to be on the zoning and development board. You both said no, right? Because there's a seat available?
No, that was, economic development.
Yeah.
Platte County Economic Development.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was,
I wouldn't want a conflict of interest.
okay.
Yeah,
I misunderstood what she said.
go ahead.
Rick from Chugwater, Wyoming, Gronk. On the moratoriums, they're only good for a year. Can we renew one for like 5 years? I mean, to put this together, a plan, everything work something out. I think it's gonna take more than a year. And we're afraid we're gonna have to have some, professional, expertise, like lawyer, and stuff.
Maybe I should clarify, at least a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
And is it renewable?
Well, I mean, if you're a commissioner, you can kind of just say so.
Okay, and
I
then
have-
another question is too, they've got this data set, or wind farms, solar farms, all this. And they put up a bond, a security bond. Okay, we've got them in Platte County here, that they default on the bond. What is Platte County gonna do with the data center or wind farm?
This is a huge problem that
Yes.
I said. With for instance, with the wind, the turbines, there's supposed to be a bond that would cover the decommissioning of these turbines. Right now, it's about $500,000 to $2 million each, and they want to put 112 of them there, so it's like, 224, almost $250 million in today's dollars to decommission them. In 35 years, that could be well over $1 billion for Platte County. Now, they're supposed to have a bond, but they won't tell us what the principal is, what the interest rate is, can it keep up with inflation? Can the bond be transferable? Because these wind farms get sold to other companies, right? So who owns the bond?
Yes, but it's sitting in Platte County on their, Platte County's zoning or laws.
Right.
What are they gonna do with it? I mean,
Well, that's it, we don't know. And here's another one that I can't get out of anyone. What if they decide to decommission these things early? Say 10 years, they're no longer profitable, or a subsidy goes away, and they just shut them down. Do we have to wait another 25 years for the bond to mature? And these things are just sitting there? So, they have to answer these questions, and they just not. So, that's why I'm just like, we're not gonna do anything until they tell us these answers.
Right.
Mrs. Dean?
My question is, both of you want to be commissioners, and after watching several of the meetings, do you have the time to do your own research, or are you going to be, kind of half, I'm not gonna say the word, but y'all know what I'm saying. Because you're not reading the information and then look to another county official to tell you how to vote.
Okay. When I do something, I use both cheeks, so.
I personally, I like to do my own research. One of the, I enjoy sitting down and getting as much research as I can find. And so that would be one of the things that I would do.
Will you have the time?
We will have to make the time. That's what it comes down to. And, I mean, right now there's, I have a full-time job beyond that. But the other thing that I do with the theater, there's 2 hours a night. I'm sitting there with not a whole lot going on. So, and a pretty good internet connection. So I can do a lot of research there. Like I said, I enjoy research, because sometimes research on this subject takes me into something else that, and you just keep going. I'm a firm believer in, if you ever stop learning, that's when you're pretty much dead, so.
Willie, did you have a question? Go ahead. Willie.
Flock cameras.
No. First off, I would love to address
Don't say
that.
both cheeks either.
Yeah. First off, if people aren't aware of what Willie's talking about, the flop cameras, these are cameras, that are put in public spaces, and they're constantly running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Initially, they started selling them to the public as a law enforcement tool. And then what has happened is they started to gather information on people's comings and goings. They've just started gathering information like crazy, and they're storing it. There was a case in central Nebraska, I don't remember exactly which city, where they were just looking into it. Flock went ahead and put the cameras up before they had said yes, was my understanding. They ended up getting activated before any contract was in place. So it's not a good thing. The other thing is, from a law enforcement standpoint, at some point, we gotta get back to good old fashioned police work. Where we're out asking questions, we're talking to people. Don't get me wrong, I loved it when I was a cop and I had one of those that nobody saw it, nobody, and all of a sudden we came up with a camera image. That was awesome. But at some point, we gotta get back to good old-fashioned police work too.
As I understand, most law enforcement agencies that use them don't own them. They don't own the information.
That's the way I understand it as well.
Yeah.
And I'll even go a little further on this. When law enforcement can, there's cameras all over the place, and they literally can watch you go from one side of wherever the heck you go. They're following you around. That's basically stalking.
Yeah.
If a person were to do that with their eyes, that's stalking. And so, it's just wrong on so many levels.
Tim, you said that you have done research on net new era or whatever it is. Are there any comparable data centers in operation now that we can see how they're doing? Because you've reported all the court cases against New Era. Is that possible to do with the data center question?
So yeah, just to clarify, NextEra is the wind turbine company, and the data centers are, we know of at least one called Geronimo. It's a new company. We really don't know who's pulling the strings on that. Word on the street is either Meta or Google or some other similar entity that formed Geronimo. I don't know. But the bottom line is since Geronimo and some of these other data centers are so new, they typically don't have any lawsuits on them right just yet. Whereas NextEra has been in business for a while now. I don't know if you guys saw the ad that I put out there, but it's unbelievably how corrupt NextEra is. It just, and I quoted a 11th Circuit judge that it's almost comical what he said in the ruling. So I actually have that out there. But the point being is that you just flat out say these companies are corrupt. And the fact that they've been found guilty on these things, it's a pattern. It's not like once or twice.
It's a lot.
Dozens of times. Yeah, it's a lot. And so don't do business with somebody who knows a liar.
Chloe.
So one thing that came up a lot with planning and zoning when they were refusing to do much of anything with our wind and solar regs was they kept saying, well, why do you want us to put that in there? We can't enforce it anyway, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, they were also saying, oh, the FAA enforces that, the EPA enforces that. We don't have to have anything in our rules about that. But from what I understand, even a financial huge penalty means nothing to the sizes of these companies. Would you address enforcement of some sort that was perhaps non-financial, such as if this happens, then you immediately must shut down this, or what in other words, what kind of alternatives to make them actually pay attention to our rules and regs? Would you be willing to try to put in place for us?
So, first off, your question assumes that this would even go forward, which
Oh, yeah.
I'm reluctant to even do that. But if for some reason somehow a data center got going, what we just talked about earlier, if there's a water shortage and they hit a certain limit, that's it, you're off. And we're not gonna give you preference over everybody else. And with regards to the next era, and again, I can show you the ruling that I was talking about. This goes beyond civil, so you're saying that, a few $1 million is nothing to these companies. Well, but if it's criminal, if it's a criminal charge, people should go to prison over it. I mean, you can't just pay your way out of it.
Yeah, they're just, along with the regulations, like I said, we've got to slow this whole process down, because it's trying to be sped up.
They're trying to rush it through.
The company itself is going to try and speed this up as much as they possibly can, and we've got to take that step back, we've got to slow it down, so we can make sure that we get, again, first, good rules and regulations in place. Secondly, there has to be some sort of enforcement action, and some agency that is charged with enforcing that. Whether it's, from a criminal standpoint, the sheriff's office, whoever it may be, someone has to be charged with enforcing those regulations. Someone has to be charged with making sure that they're following those regulations. Because we can't just say, here's the regulations, hope you abide by them, we're out. That's not a good way to do business either. If we've got these regulations in place, we've got to be able to follow up, we've got to be able to inspect, and we've got to know that they're following the regulations that are in place. So those are all of the things that need to be put in place. And then it has, again, we have to find the agency, whichever agency it is, that needs to enforce each regulation. Because it may be different for this regulation than it is for this regulation. So.
Okay, a question for you is, when you guys become commissioners, if that may happen, would you delegate your authority to like a non-government organization, or even to a clerk to do all your research for you? And thank you for that.
I sure hope there's some shaking heads behind me.
Exactly, because I think that's important that you do not delegate your authority, because they have a constitutional, has gone to the state Supreme Court that says you should not delegate your authority, and yet we're seeing that, so.
I'm not big on somebody coming to me and telling me, well, here's the facts and the figures. I would rather see that for myself. I would rather go out and find those facts and figures myself. And if I have to make phone calls to people and say, hey, I can't find this, where should I look? There's enough people that we do know that I think that I could reach out to, that I don't have to rely on one single person. That, and depending what it is, there's people that are quote unquote experts in the field all over the place. And so I would much rather find those for myself than rely on the searching skills of someone else.
Okay, I appreciate that, and you answered it both very well, because our concern is that if you get something, a project or whatever, and then you just delegate the whole thing and you never research. So thank you for your answers, I appreciate that.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Mark, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go down a slightly different rabbit trail.
Okay.
There's gonna be a referendum on this ballot in November on tax reduction of personal property. It's already going all the way around, but oh my God, all the emergency equipment, the fire departments, the law enforcement, we're gonna run out of money completely. How do you guys understand what that referendum actually is?
The way I understand it is that basically it's a 50% cut on residential tax, and that amounts to about 3.5% of the budget, or of the taxes that are collected, which should easily be cuttable. So I personally take offense whenever someone proposes cutting taxes. the people out there are like, oh, you're not gonna have fire departments, or you're not gonna have, you know, like they're holding the most critical things hostage. You know, there's all these other things that can be cut, and it's just, you know, that's wrong. I support the residential cut. Shouldn't be a problem at all.
Yep, and I would agree with that. I support it. I think that, you know, there are, you know, certain services that are financed and funded by those taxes. However, what people, when they said a 50% property tax cut, people kind of stopped reading right there. It's residential only. And during the last budget cycle for the county, I believe it was Malcolm that said it was under 8% of the total county's budget that is collected from residential property taxes. So, I mean, we're not looking at having to cut 50% of the budget. That's not what we're looking at all. We're looking at about 3.5% to 4% maximum, and I think that's doable.
Dean, in case you guys don't know, Dean here is going to be running for county clerk. So I think this will be an interesting question, and if you have any questions for him afterwards as well. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of the county commissioner meetings, and it just amazes me how much time they're spending going to executive session to prepare for somebody that wants to be on the deal, on the, you know, that's what they call the opposition. And, you know, that's just not very transparent. I think the county commissioners are sitting in there, and currently, the current clerk is saying, well, I recommend we go to executive session, and next thing you know, they're off in executive session, and they're off in that for like, an hour. 40 minutes into the deal, and they're out for an hour and a half on executive session, and then they come back in, and they've already formed a consensus on the people that are gonna be coming up on the agenda. And now, what do you guys think about going to the transparency of going to executive session and when that should be?
I think executive sessions really should, right now, I think they're kind of being abused. And what they should be used is for stuff that is more internal, like disciplinary actions or discussing of internal, you know, did somebody do something wrong, should we discipline them? That may or may not be something that's appropriate for public, because maybe you don't know if they did something wrong. So rather than, you know, but that's pretty narrow subject there. Right now, I think they're using executive sessions to really debate and counter things, the opposition that should be discussed publicly. These are public issues. So as far as transparency goes, I would try very hard to restrict that to only very narrow subjects, and even perhaps have that auditable, in that if someone really wanted to know what we talked about, you might be able to get some sort of FOIA, and then somebody would go in there and say, yeah, this is what they talked about, A, B, C, and that's it. And that way you know, we're not doing anything behind your back.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions, I guess. Easements, have you guys thought about easements on these data centers? I mean, you're going to have to put rules in your response to these data centers if you're going to pass rules on easements, and I don't think that you should be letting these people overlay easements. Like coming from the power company, coming from the telephone company. I think you probably should not allow that, because that's what they're gonna try to do. I'm pretty sure of that. It's free. Or they'll pay a little money to somebody. But no one's talked about that. There's gonna be a mega amount of wire coming down to I-25, because that's where the service point's at. The second question I guess I have is, what do you guys feel about putting in a referendum on the next ballot process of an industrial tax? So if these data centers come in, if the
which I don't think you're probably gonna be able to stop them because of the bombing state laws. But, with the rare earth mineral coming into Black County, data centers, these wind farms, I don't think we have an industrial base tax in Black County, do we? I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't believe we do. Because these data centers, if these companies are gonna come in, I feel they should take most of the Black County tax burden from the people. They are gonna make billions and billions of dollars. $20 million on a $1 billion industry isn't shit to them guys. Excuse my French. So, what do you guys feel about doing something like that, or at least proposing something like that? I mean, that might be your only stop too, data centers, honestly.
Right, so with regards to the easements, I agree with you, especially when there seems to be easements that are getting paid off and whatnot, for deals that, yeah, I agree with you, I don't like that at all. As far as the tax that you're talking about, yeah, if they were to come in and make a lot of money like that, I think there should be a significant tax revenue from these to support the local community. I'm reluctant to say that though, because I don't really like the idea of bringing them in on the promise of lots of money. That to me, that seems like they're kind of bribing the entire community. Let us in, we'll give you all this tax money, and it never works out that way, and all the other negatives get pushed aside. So, I guess in a short answer, your question right there is like issue number 56, and we have 55 other things to get through.
I've got a whole list.
Okay.
I would agree with Tim. I would be a little bit reluctant to, sitting here right now, this being the first time that I've heard that thought, say, yeah, by golly, that's what we should do. First off, I haven't researched it much, so I don't know. But secondly, I don't think we can make this decision, that anybody should be making this decision solely based on a dollar figure. There are so many other pieces that go into this, and I agree with him. I think that's probably done around 56, 57, and there's plenty of things above it that we need to be looking at. I would love to have more money coming into our county. I would love that. But at what cost is the thing? If you're getting, okay, I'll use the number that was thrown out, the $20 million. But if it's costing us 25, we're not making any money. And so I would love to be able to bring more money, have a larger budget to play I shouldn't say the word play with, but to be able to get our emergency services up to the levels where they should be, to be able to give the sheriff more money so he can attract more law enforcement deputies, and make Platte County a more attractive place for those guys to work. I would love to be able to do that. I'm not willing to do that at the cost of what few natural resources we do have.
I'm just saying, I don't think you guys, I know you guys can't make that decision, but I'm saying a moratorium, would you be for the moratorium, but would you be for at least addressing the idea of putting an industrial tax in Platte?
I definitely think it's a discussion worth having.
We used to have these in the 90s, and Cheney took them away because he was smaller.
Right.
And he didn't want to pay the state of Wyoming. The coal mines, oil companies, they all paid for our schools at that point in time until that went away in the 90s. And our tax burden was very low back then in the state of Wyoming. And since then, our tax burden has just been, and that's why everybody wants to be 50% less, 50% less. Our tax burden is getting too high. Hell, we're getting to be Colorado. This is wrong in this state.
We have a couple more questions. Would you guys like to do your closing statements and then hear from the crowd again? If you would like to do your closing statements, and then everybody knows where you stand, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Closing statements, this meeting is primarily about data centers, but I think I'm running for county commissioner, so there's a bunch of other issues that you will probably want to know. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of issues that are related to this. I know we're in economic hard times, but there's other ways to get the money to keep our society going without selling the farm, in this case, literally. And both the data centers and the wind turbines use a lot of resources and hurt a lot of there's opportunity lost. So when people come to Wyoming for tourism, for whatever reason, they don't want to see a whole bunch of wind turbines around. So we've lost something because we go down that route. And so we should really try to look towards industries and businesses that accentuate and is more synergistic with what Wyoming is. We don't want to be like other states. If we start acting like other states, we'll become like other states. And that's, I don't want to be in another state. I want to be here in Wyoming. So there's an example I want to give back. I live right outside of Chugwater. So I have a Chugwater mailing address, even though I'm like 14 miles outside of Chugwater. But the Chugwater Chili Fest, right? It happens every year. This year, Lady Sydney did an excellent job running the Chugwater Chili. We made a profit of about $21,000. Okay, this is a community thing. That's not tax money. That's money from an event that goes into the coffers of a town. There's only 175 people in the town. That's significant. There are a bunch of things that the entire county can do that are equivalent to that doesn't come directly out of our pockets. And aside from the money that came in from the Chugwater Chili Fest, then there's the secondary positive effects where all these people are in the town, they're buying, you know, going to the restaurants, they're buying gas. So it really, really helps the economy. And again, all this money was raised without raising taxes on people. So, you know, I think Platte County, there's a lot of things Platte County can do similar to that can help us out financially without hurting us, really. I mean, positive stuff.
Yeah, and I just echo that a little bit. We have got to be able to grow. I do believe that growth is something that we need to have in Platte County. We've got to be able to control that growth. And we've got to be able to control that growth to protect the way of life that we've come to love. You know, the things that we enjoy doing, the things that we enjoy having. Tim mentioned people come to Wyoming because they want to see our mountains, they want to see our lakes, they want to see those things. They don't want to see everything dotted up with wind turbines or, you know, massive data centers, whatever it may be. So we've got to be able to control that growth. And we've got to sit down and we've got to look at each individual business, each individual company that wants to come here, and we've got to be able to weigh the pros and the cons. And I tell you, as I've continued to do my research, and I will keep doing that research on these things, the cons right now are outweighing the pros far and away. The other piece is, as a closing, Heather and I, we have 9 kids between us. 5 of them live here in Platte County, and they've all chosen to live here, and they've chosen to open businesses here or go to work here, and they're choosing to raise their children here. And I want to be able to continue to make Platte County a place where our kids want to come home and raise their kids.
Do you guys want to take a couple more questions?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Absolutely.
John?
I have a question. I'd like to know both of your individual philosophies on how you would represent the people. And let me just pose a scenario to you. I know this is about the data centers, but with NextEra, I know a lot of people in the county, probably 90–95%, who have talked to me and told me they're opposed to the NextEra wind turbine project. And our county commissioners, and I know some of your fellow candidates who would like to get in office would have voted the same way that they did. I'm wondering, would you represent the majority of the people and what they thought, what the people wanted, or would you do what, and I believe these county commissioners did what they thought was best for the future of the county, but I don't think it was, and I don't think 90 or 95% of the other people do either. I'm wondering where you would be in a situation like that.
Well,
Do you stand behind the will of the people, or do you vote otherwise?
That's a very good question. And what we find a lot of times is the minority seems to be the loudest group. And so.
For the group with the money.
Right, the money, and so we've got to get to the bottom of it, but the thing is, I think, when we're having meetings, people are coming in to talk to us, you've got to genuinely listen. You've got to genuinely listen to what they're saying. And just because you're not in a meeting, if somebody stops you in the store and starts to talk to you about something, take the time to do that. That's where we're going to find out from the silent majority. You're not going to find out from the silent majority. Usually is not going to come out and be, super loud, super boisterous. They're going to catch you, outside of that meeting, and they're going to have a conversation with you. And you've got to keep your pulse on the community that you live in. And by community, I mean this entire county. This entire county is a community, whether however you see it, the entire county is our community. And, we've got to make an effort to listen to everybody that's coming in. And we've got to be able to weigh, again, going back to weighing the pros and the cons, what's best for this county at the time, what's best for the county in the future. So as far as how we're going to represent the majority, it's a lot in going out, and we've got to listen to the people that are coming to the meetings. We've got to listen. If we're getting emails, if we're getting phone calls, we've got to hear what's happening there and be able to weigh that.
Are you saying you would represent the majority?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I've been asked this in various forms before, and I basically have three elements to this answer. One, as an elected official, I'm supposed to represent the people that have voted for me, and so I should do what I said I was going to do. In this case, oppose this and all the things that I talked about, get the answers and all this other stuff, rather than just rubber stamping and going for it. So that's one thing that I would do. On other issues that might be outside of the data center, again, do what the majority wants, because this is an elected position. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to represent the people. Now, there are some issues that a commissioner, mundane issues that you'd have to do that the general population may not have any opinion on, like I've said before, how to fix the leak in the library or something like that. Okay, at that point, the commissioners take it upon themselves to make the best decision they think to fix the problem at hand. I think that's fair. But then on the third issue on that is, in the very rare situation where you might be wanting that you would vote against the will of the people, would be on a constitutional basis. So, for instance, if if the majority, for whatever reason, were to say, oh, we want something, and I believed it to be unconstitutional, I would vote no. I'll go, at that point, I'd go against the majority, and I'd say, why? This is unconstitutional. And I think if you communicate that, like say something happens and people are like, oh, we want some sort of gun control. Forget it, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that, it violates the Second Amendment. And I'll tell you that. And I think a lot of people, if you communicate with them, and then they'll go, okay, I guess, you have a point there. And that's it. So that's one situation, very narrow situation where I would go against the will of the people. And it's extremely rare. But there you have it. Otherwise, just go with what your constituents want. If there's some contention and you don't know exactly, like this is a very contentious issue, I would support a referendum. Put it on the ballot. Find out what the majority wants.
A referendum would be good.
Yeah.
Would be allowed.
Well, I was just thinking the same thing, only I think the whole county needs to be polled. They've never been polled about anything. And somehow we need to get to everybody with the question, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? So you have some hard evidence, not going into the grocery store deal, and, well, 6 people told me they wanted it. Well,
Mhm.
you all know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of people.
No, let's
that are
just
not-
look it up on Google.
There are a lot of people that are not making their ideas or where they stand public, and I think that's what we need. Some kind of a poll to say, here guys, these are the facts. Whether they agree with me or they don't agree with me, that's beside the point. Facts.
Agreed.
I strongly
I
believe.
thought this would be a lot more crowd in here tonight.
Yeah, I
It's
did
not.
too.
I think it was too short a notice. People didn't get the message. I just
Oh,
said.
I was all over it. I just saw it a couple hours ago.
I got a question.
Really?
I'm just glad there's younger people here.
Yes,
I,
and it's not old enough to vote. There's a song about
I got some more questions. I got a question about, I noticed how all these deals and stuff are being done, you know. Seems like somebody gets seems to be like the people are getting, offered trips to go to data centers, you know, and, you know, they come back and they're all for it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like someone's setting up field trips, and the deals that are going on, there's apparently something going on. I don't like how PCED, and you guys as commissioners are supposed to be running the business deal, like, hey, yeah, this is what we want, or whatever else. The PCED is running this thing, and everybody's bought board seats, they're sitting there steering, everybody that scans the game. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like open business. Is there something that you would change in how the deals are done and dealing, with PCED?
Well, there should be no conflict of interest, and if there is some sort of conflict of interest that pre-exists, the person should recuse themselves from any decision-making process. And as far as these data center tours or whatnot, I've never been on one, and I strongly suspect there's a lot of, you know, dog and pony shows making it look all wonderful and everything like that. So they're certainly not gonna tell you the negatives about that. If there was some sort of thing that they wanted to you know, communicate or whatever, I don't understand why we can't just do a public demonstration or public presentation, such that everybody sees the same thing that the commissioner sees. And, you know,
It's all quite a bit.
right now, it seems like there's a lot of backdoor kind of stuff going on.
I don't understand how Marty went through that data center and they contaminated all the Cheyenne water source, the sewage. And now Meta's coming back and saying it's not us.
It's not.
So, I mean, it's like, that's all you have to know.
I think my son-in-law said it best. When it comes to one of those tours, we all clean house when we're expecting something. And, you know, that's a piece that you have to take into account. You know, you can go on a tour, that's great, but there's going to be pieces that they probably don't show. And those are gonna be the pieces that we're probably most interested in. But I think, you know, as far as, you know, the contracts, things like that, if there's a contract that the county is going to have to uphold, that needs to come to the commissioners. That needs to be on our plate. Especially something that is big and as contentious as this is. That needs to be on the commissioner's plate. It shouldn't be taken care of by a separate group, a separate entity. That's something that the people that you elected to make those decisions should be making those decisions.
Very good. How good is that county attorney, because that's who you're gonna have to be working with to do these contracts with these, because that's who you're gonna be dealing with, is their lawyer.
Right.
Well, you know, my question is like, you know, you may, as a commissioner, be sent to a data center, you know what I mean? And have to go do the tour and whatever else. I'd hope with integrity that I think that you gentlemen have, that you'd let the people know, yeah, they offered me a deal.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if he's straight, I'm just gonna bust them out, you know?
I was actually telling some people today, I would love to get elected and have them try to bribe me. I'd love to know what happens, you know?
Yeah,
along those lines, do you have, I guess, experience or practice in your private life or business life resisting strong pressure from an outside entity? That's, yeah, I have two, but that's the first question. I'll ask the second question.
Yeah, several times, actually. As far as business goes, I've had to deal with lawsuits with my business at several times, and, you know, I didn't back down. We haven't lost a case. We've had some infringement cases and whatnot that ultimately was settled in our favor, put it that way. And so, and multi-year battles. On another, outside of my business, since I live in a decommissioned site, the Army Corps of Engineers is cleaning up the toxic waste from the 1960s, and the toxic waste is actually trichloroethane, which is in essence WD-40. We used to hose down the rockets in the 60s with that. And so they come in and they're mitigating, they're cleaning it up, and that's good. As they're cleaning it up. But they subcontract this to some of the companies, and some of the companies that they have were just reckless, and they're basically damaging private property, and I kept on complaining, and they didn't seem to fix anything. And so when the 5-year contract came up, I said, no, you're not gonna come back on the property again. And they fought, they threatened the EPA on me, and they said, you're gonna have to clean it up out of your own pocket. And I said, look, you got all this damage, you're running over stuff, you're backing into things. Forget it, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna repair the driveway too, because you've been running these water trucks up and down and destroying the driveway. And after 2 years, they acquiesced, they fixed everything. So, and I let them come back on the property.
And I would say I've seen pressure from outside in my former career as law enforcement officer. I in all honesty, I will tell you, probably not the type of pressure that we're going to see from billion-dollar companies. You know, and that's another piece when an area, a county, a community starts putting a lot of eggs in one basket, and something happens to that basket. Now all of a sudden we're scrambling, and we've got to regroup. And we saw that when Cabela's sold to Bass Pro, and they came through it. They were wiping out $200,000 a year jobs like that, and we had, the housing market tanked, everything went down, and that community was able to recover, and I'm glad they were. But I don't want to be put in that situation. I didn't, it's not a comfortable situation to be in as a citizen. I can't imagine what our town council and our county commissioners were going through at that point either. But the biggest thing is you have to do what's best for the people, and I rely on my faith at that point. God's either going to put me in this spot or he's not. And so if it's God's will for me to be a sitting commissioner, I take a lot of things, and a lot of major decisions in my life are settled with prayer. And so that's my armor. You put that armor on and you're not going to get crushed by the pressure. So that's where I would be. Like I said, I've seen the pressure, but I don't think I've seen the type of pressure that we're going to get.
Thank you. My second question would be, I think we've all seen when an elected official comes into office and they have really good ideas and they're like, hey, I'm going to do something good, and everybody thinks, yeah, he's going to do something good. And then if they're in that office for an extended period of time and they keep getting reelected and things kind of sour. So do you think that, obviously I'm not asking you to impose term limits on commissioners, but how long, if you were in charge of that and you could impose term limits on commissioners here in Platte County, what do you think it should be? Or should there be no term limits?
Elected officials in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Term limits, well, first of all, depends on the term, right? Some terms are 2 years, some are 4,
right.
Some are 6, so I would tend to say something, you probably should be in office in a position for less than 10 years. However you cut that up, and let someone else take the reins. And then, agree with Curtis here that we should spend a lot of effort to kind of keep in tune with what the general population wants. Just so you know, Curtis and I actually had a Zoom conference a few days ago where we were several hours just talking with people, whoever wanted to come on. And so the subjects went all over the place, but it's public information. Anybody can log on and see it. I think that's something that we should do on a regular basis, maybe once a month, just to have a Zoom conference and people can just ask questions, as opposed to necessarily having a commissioner meeting with an agenda and you can only talk about these things. Just kind of have an open floor. Tell us what you think. What's on your mind?
Keep in mind, some of us old folks can't do Zoom very well. Yeah.
Maybe we would do some sort of Zoom conference like that, but in a room like this.
Yeah, where you would have people on Zoom, you'd have people in person. And I would agree with that. I think that part of the problem is, it's not necessarily term limits. I think part of the problem is we get into a rut. We get into, as humans, we get into complacency. And you see this come across the desk, you're like, oh, this is how I voted on that the last time, this time I vote this time. And so I think continually engaging with the people that have put us where we're at is a way to kind of keep that fresh and to keep moving forward. It's also taking the time to step outside of that commissioner room. It's taking the time to go see the folks at schools. There's nothing more refreshing than being in a room full of kindergartners. But seriously, I mean, sometimes, having been and having done several, like presentation type things at the elementary and the high school level, every now and then, not every now and then, just about every time, one of those kids would say something that I'm like, that's a fantastic plan. We should work on that. And again, that's just one way to start to get our younger people involved and engaged a little bit, even if they're not eligible to vote yet. Allow them to become engaged in that process. So I think there's ways to keep it fresh and not get into that complacency mode. So
I want to thank everyone who came tonight. Our candidates in this community, or any candidate who didn't come and could not be here, the same questions remain open. Kind of disappointed they didn't show up, honestly. It's a great opportunity to talk to your community. To me, it tells a lot. But voting is this week, and public still wants and deserves answers to the questions. We encourage every candidate to publish their answers before the election. A recording tonight of tonight's forum will be posted online, and we will be taking interviews with both candidates and members and of the public in case there's anything you would like to add out there in the lobby. I recommend that you guys come out, have some questions so the community can see some questions from the public, and Jesus is King.
That's what we're
Well, that's how you look at it real often. I thought this would be a lot more crowded.
I hope so, but I personally didn't even know about it until 11 o'clock this morning. So I think that's part of the problem. There just wasn't enough notice.
Yeah, I think they need to get the word out to people better.
Yeah,
I mean, it shows who, Lucinda told me all the candidates were invited.
All of them were invited.
And it just shows who's really interested in getting it to the public.
I've seen it.
It would help a lot. It would help a lot. How are you?
But that is on my list.
I know I recognize you from somewhere. Coffee?
That's right.
Okay, yeah, let's let you know.
Well, I've gone up at a couple of meetings, and I've seen you down there.
Planning and zoning, and maybe you came to like a couple other special meetings.
Yep. Okay. We were there a couple of times.
Okay, yeah.
Your famous word. I loved it.
You know, I don't know what came over me. I just wanted everyone to know basically how the town council felt.
And I appreciate it. I really, really do. I do.
Honesty is refreshing. We're not gonna have
Talk to him just today.
I'm not afraid to make it have a form of opinion. It seems like a lot of people are.
I have opinion on it. I'm pretty good, so yeah.
Well, Jill is actually going to try
That's crazy. But yeah, just close it.
she got actually
I know you can see a lot of YouTube where the first one might work.
From my business, yes.
disrupting the meetings and we're simply expressing our opinions. And we can people
But yeah, isn't that just adorable?
That is, I like that.
Yeah.
I could probably make, I could do a lot of it. You could probably make it.
Come just to make chairs.
Hey, how are you? And I'm gonna go to your guys' election.
The reason that is,
Are you doing elections there?
No, because I'm
Yes. No, I saw your name on there.
so, yeah, and
it's the same thing that the president do, but
I don't know, I'm upset about it, yes, I see about Chuck Gray.
yeah,
Because I went to the state
yeah.
and part of his job was how to.
And I think that one of those things is just as a Christian, one of the things I'd like to see is
It's his job, Daniel.
They didn't even say how many,
Others.
yeah, you know, I mean, he doesn't know, you know how many registered.
I don't know, but somebody has registered 3 businesses on my address here in the last 3 years. And I've had to go through the affidavit.
Did they get any money out of it?
I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
Dan was the middle.
They're paying them.
Yeah, that's all you
They
have to
get
do.
all sorts of but most of them come from my address.
Yeah. Well, you
And
know,
one of them is someplace in
yeah, that's the deal, kind of, my whole deal on that title has kind of shrunk down to just a small part after start to really get into this thing. And I started watching his county commissioner meetings, and that guy is building a kingdom.
We've done this a few times, haven't we?
I know, that's why I said I couldn't.
Like, I actually know where the chairs go.
How you doing?
Everybody, and
Good,
this is
that's
why
good.
I'm
How are you?
Look at this dude. I know, he's a tough guy.
Mr. Martinez is a tough guy.
Oh, look at this one. I know, they're young. They're young.
and then they're complaining that he's
somebody's trying to
controlling
75 and I wish they hadn't done it.
the things that are on their agenda. And so,
Right.
he's referred to some of these people as the opposition. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's terrible. I mean, the county clerks and who was in there. I was walking along there, and somebody was there talking about the rules and regulations for these things coming in and what they should be. And one of the county clerks actually had the nerve, or commissioner, had the nerve to tell her this is not our meeting, it's not yours. And she's sitting there going, man, this is so out of control, it's almost pitiful. These guys are not reasonable. They're all kind of all in cahoots, in commissioner. But yeah, that's what mine.
Is Gina already home? Is Gina already home?
No, she locked herself out of the house, so I have to go home and let her in.
Apparently sweet. Thank you.
I know, right?
Stop doing this stuff by yourself.
It's gonna catch up with you when you get older.
It will.